Here it comes! Ho!
Mesa.
Okay, mesa means table. I got it. Now shut up and go on.
That's it for now. That's all the vocabulary you will learn outside of the articles and pronouns, which are the main topics of this section.
Hot diggity dog.
Here it is, just like we promised, the details on gender with nouns and adjectives.
In Spanish, just about everything is a girl or a boy. Okay, that sounds silly, but here's what we mean. Nouns, articles, and pronouns, as well as the adjectives that modify them, all express gender.
Inanimate objects like tables, rocks, and nose hair clippers are all considered either masculine or feminine. Usually, if a word ends in A, it's feminine, and if it ends in O, it's masculine.
I say usually because you know there are exceptions to every rule. Well, almost every rule. Anyway, for now, just remember.
If the Spanish noun ends in A, it's feminine, and any adjectives you use to modify it should also be feminine and end in A as well. If a noun ends in O, it's masculine, and any adjectives you use to modify it should also be masculine and end in O. Back to elementary school grammar for a minute. Remember what articles are?
Not that kind of article. We're talking about the words a, an, and the that tell us a little bit about the noun that follows. Articles are considered adjectives. The word the is a definite article. It specifies which thing or person you're talking about.
When you refer to the sticky spot on the floor, you're referring to one specific sticky spot. On the other hand, if you refer to a sticky spot on the floor, you're not pointing out one specific spot. You could be talking about any sticky spot, which, if you were speaking about a place in your own home, would be both disgusting and unfortunate. That's why the articles a and an are called indefinite articles. They don't refer to one specific thing.
In English, we only have one definite article, the word the. In Spanish, there are 4 definite articles. They are el, la, los, and las. Spanish definite articles describe the noun they modify with more detail than the does in English. Spanish definite articles tell you whether the noun they modify is masculine or feminine, singular or plural.
Use the definite article el with a noun that's singular and masculine, such as carro. You'd say el carro. In English, that means the car.
If you're talking in Spanish about more than one car, use the article los. You'd say los carros. In English, that means the cars.
Use la with a singular feminine noun such as mesa, which means table. La mesa means the table. If you are talking about more than one table, use the article las and say las mesas, which means the tables.
Like we said, the indefinite articles in English are a and an. In Spanish, there are 4 indefinite articles that, again, tell a bit more about the noun they modify than their English counterparts.
They are un, una, unos, and unas.
Just like the definite articles, the indefinite articles tell you if the noun they modify is masculine or feminine, singular or plural. Here are some examples.
Use the indefinite article un with a singular masculine noun. For example, un carro means a car. To refer to a group of cars, but not a specific group of cars, use unos carros, which means some cars.
Use una with a singular feminine noun. Una mesa means a table. Unas mesas refers to a non-specific group of tables.
Let's review. In Spanish, inanimate objects and all other nouns are all considered either masculine or feminine. Usually, if a word ends in A, it's feminine, and if it ends in O, it's masculine. The adjectives and articles that modify nouns also have to be masculine or feminine to correspond with the noun they modify. Articles are little words like a and the that tell you something about the word that follows them. Definite articles point out specific things.
The only definite article in English is the. In Spanish, the definite articles are el, la, los, and las. You use the definite article which matches your noun in gender and number. In English, the indefinite articles are a, an, and some. They refer to a non-specific thing or quantity of things. In Spanish, the indefinite articles are un, una, unos, and unas. Again, you pick the proper form depending on the gender and number of the noun it will precede.
Section B, pronouns.
New section! No new vocabulary.
Now let's talk about pronouns. In case you're zoning on what a pronoun is, it's a word like she or it that takes the noun. Imagine a world without pronouns. We would have to repeat nouns over and over again.
Obviously, Spanish has pronouns too, a bunch of them in fact. To get to know the Spanish pronouns intimately, you need to know their gender. Can you let go of me, please? Thanks. And you need to know whether they're singular or plural. Before we go through each of the pronouns, I want to tell you about the pronoun you.
But I love you.
In English, you has many uses. You can be the one person I'm talking to, or you can be the group of people I'm talking to. In other words, the pronoun you can be either singular or plural in English. Also, you can refer to anyone, young or old, friend or stranger.
The rules for the pronoun you are quite different in Spanish. There are 5, count them, 5 Spanish pronouns that mean you. Lucky for you, most Spanish classes only focus on 3 of them, so that's what we're going to do too.
The ones most important for you to learn are tú, usted, and ustedes. The other 2 are vosotros and vosotras, which are used only in Spain.
Your professor will probably want you to know a little bit about vosotros and vosotras. We will go over them briefly, but you will use tú, usted, and ustedes all the time. Those 3 forms are used in both Latin America and Spain. Relax. We'll show you how to use all these forms of you.
Use the singular pronoun tú to refer to a person who is your peer.
Are you my peer?
No, Sonny.
In other words, tú means a person whom you know well and is not a lot older or in a higher position than you.
Are you my peer?
Tu refers to your equal or to someone who is younger than you and has less status.
Are you my peer?
I'm your sister, you idiot.
Two! Oh!
The other singular pronoun, usted, is also used in both Spain and Latin America. Use usted when you refer to someone whom you don't know or don't know very well.
You also use usted for someone who is older or holds a higher position than you. You would probably refer to your boss or your grandmother as usted. Usted.
What did you call me? Get back in your office!
Usted. John, do you remember Maria? I think you 2 have met before.
Dude!
That's usted to you, buddy.
You would definitely call a new acquaintance usted until you got to know her better. If you're ever in doubt about whether to use tú or usted, use usted to be safe.
Usted is often abbreviated to capital U-D period. The abbreviation is just a common and easy way to write usted. There's no particular reason for it. It's kind of like abbreviating Mr. and Mrs. in English. We just sort of do it out of habit and because everyone else does. When you write out the word usted, use a lowercase u. Unless, of course, it's the first word in a sentence. When you abbreviate it, use an uppercase U, whether it's at the beginning of the sentence or not. It's just one of those language things. Go figure.
When we said go figure, we were speaking figuratively.
In Latin America, the plural pronoun for you is ustedes. If you're addressing a group directly, call them ustedes. Ustedes is also used in Spain, but like usted, it's considered a formal pronoun. In Latin America, ustedes is used for any situation calling for a plural you, formal or informal.
In other words, if you want to say you all stink, you'd say
Ustedes apestan.
Let's get him!
Of course, the group might throw things at you, but that's besides the point right now. Use ustedes to refer to any group, regardless of their age or whether you know them or not.
Ustedes is often abbreviated to capital U, DS, period. Again, when you write out the word, use a lowercase u unless it is the first word in a sentence. When you abbreviate it, use an uppercase U regardless of where the word is in the sentence.
Those are the 3 pronouns for you that you'll have to know the best and will probably use most often. Now we'll tell you a little bit about vosotros and vosotras, which are the plural pronouns for you that are used in Spain.
Use the plural pronoun vosotros when you address a group of men or group of both men and women as you. Use vosotras to address a group of women as you. It's that gender thing again.
Ustedes, the more commonly used plural you, does not imply gender. You can use it to refer to any group, men, women, or both. But you do have to consider gender if you use vosotros or vosotras. The fact that there are 2 forms of the pronoun, one with an A and one with an O, is a dead giveaway that you need to consider the gender of the group you're referring to and pick the proper form accordingly.
Hey, that's all we're gonna tell you about vosotros and vosotras. Check with your professor to, see how much you need to learn about these pronouns.
The Spanish pronoun for I is easy. It's yo. Like, yo, Adrian. It's always yo, whether you're a woman or a man. Yo.
Yo.
So to Spanish speakers, international rap stars sound like this.
I, we.
When you use the Spanish pronoun for we, you have to think gender again. If you're a woman and in a group of women, use nosotras. Notice the A at the end, denoting the feminine gender. If you're a man and in a group of men, refer to yourselves as nosotros. When you're in a group of both men and women, use nosotros, the masculine form.
If you're unclear about anything we've shown you up to this point, rewind the tape and go over it again. Like most subjects, Spanish builds on itself, and if you don't get the basics, the more advanced stuff will fly over your head like a flock of seagulls.
All right, now we're gonna go over the 3rd-person pronouns. These are all the same, both in Latin America and in Spain. All right, you gotta know them all, so pay attention.
The Spanish word for he is él. It's the 3rd-person singular masculine pronoun. Él is spelled just like the article el, except that there's an accent over the e, which lets you know that this él is the pronoun he rather than the article the. This is one of those cases we told you about where the accent on a word indicates a particular meaning rather than a particular pronunciation.
The Spanish word for she is ella. There's that a again at the end of ella, telling you that you're dealing with a feminine word. Remember to pronounce the double L like a Y. We're not dealing with Ella Fitzgerald here. Ella is the 3rd-person singular feminine pronoun.
There are 2 3rd-person plural pronouns in Spanish. As you might have guessed, one is masculine and the other is feminine.
If you are referring to a group of men or a group of both men and women, call them ellos. If you are referring to a group of women, call them ellas.
Okay, review time again. The pronoun for I is yo. Yo works for both men and women. There are 2 pronouns which mean you in its singular form. Use the pronoun tú when speaking with people you know well, who are younger than you, or are subordinate to you. Use the formal pronoun usted to mean you when you refer to someone you don't know, someone who's older than you, or someone who has a higher status than you. Like yo, tú and usted don't imply gender. You can use them with men or women. The pronoun which means he is él, and the one for she is ella. We is either nosotros or nosotras, depending on whether you need the masculine or feminine form. The plural form of you that's most commonly used is ustedes. Ustedes works with groups of either men or women. Finally, the 2 pronouns that mean they are ellos and ellas. Ellos is masculine and plural, and ellas is feminine and plural.
Part 3, the verb ser and estar.
In Spanish, there are 2 verbs that mean to be. One is the verb ser, and the other is the verb estar.
There are certain conditions that call for the verb ser rather than the verb estar, which also means to be. Once you get a feel for when to use which verb, you'll do fine. It's not that hard.
Section A, using the verb ser.
Here's the vocabulary we'll use in this section.
Oh, lo siento, hey.
Lo siento is another one of those useful phrases that you should, at this point, just go ahead and memorize. You never know when you're gonna have to say sorry. Oh, sorry, lo siento.
Perro means dog.
Bonito means pretty.
Sillas are chairs.
Antiguas are antiques.
Él es muy guapo.
Doesn't guapo mean handsome?
See?
Margarita, you have strange taste in men. Well, he does have good knees.
Hija means daughter.
A desordenada is a slob.
Caballo means horse.
Esto es horrible.
Horrible means horrible. The word is a cognate, so it's spelled the same way and means the same thing in both Spanish and English. Only the pronunciation differs.
A panadería is a bakery in galletas or cookies.
A panaderia is a bakery, and galletas are cookies.
Gratis means free, which all this stuff is to me because I'm a robber, someone who takes things.
That's what you think.
So there's the vocabulary. Now, let's start with ser.
Here's a simplified explanation of the difference between ser and estar. Ser usually refers to a permanent condition, and estar usually refers to a variable or temporary condition. Keep that in mind as we go over the details.
Now that you know the pronouns, we'll show you the various forms of ser that go along with each pronoun. By the way, when you go through all the forms of a verb, it's called conjugating the verb. We'll tell you more about conjugations in a minute.
One thing we should tell you about the verb ser. It's an irregular verb.
You can conjugate most Spanish verbs in a predictable way, but we'll talk about that later.
Ser is irregular, so you have to memorize its forms. You can't just predict its conjugation. There are a number of irregular verbs in Spanish, but for the most part, Spanish verbs are predictable and pretty easy to deal with. Let's start by conjugating the English verb to be, just so you'll remember what a conjugation looks like. Then we'll conjugate the Spanish verb ser.
The conjugation of the English verb to be goes like this. I am, you are, he or she is, we are, you are, they are.
Now let's do the same thing in Spanish with the verb ser. Yo soy, tú eres, él, ella, or usted es, nosotros or nosotras somos, ustedes, ellos, or ellas son.
Confused? It will clear up, just like the eye of a hurricane. Just kidding. We'll clear it all up for you. Now that you've seen the conjugation of the verb ser, we'll practice using it as we show you some circumstances which call for it.
We mentioned earlier that you use ser when you're talking about a permanent or relatively permanent situation. The place where you come from falls into that category. It's considered permanent.
For example, English-speaking Americans say,
I am from the United States.
In Spanish you'd say,
Yo soy de los Estados Unidos.
Let's take a close look at this sentence. Yo means I, soy means am, de means from, and los is the correct form of the article the to go along with Estados Unidos, which means United States.
Soy de Mexico.
Notice in this example, we did not use a pronoun with soy because we didn't need it. Soy implies the pronoun I all by itself because there is no other pronoun that can go with soy. It has to be yo soy. That's why you don't necessarily have to say yo with soy.
Examples. I need more examples.
Izquierda, 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 derecha, izquierda.
Here you go, General.
She is from Bogotá, Colombia. Ella es de Bogotá, Colombia.
Now look at this sentence. Ella es de Bogotá, Colombia. Ella is the pronoun that means she. We needed the pronoun in this sentence because es, the third-person singular form of ser, can be used with ella, él, or usted. Unless it's obvious who you're talking about, you have to use a pronoun with third-person singular verb forms like es.
Let's look at the conjugation of ser one more time.
Yo soy, tú eres, él, ella, or usted es, nosotros or nosotras somos, ustedes, ellos, or ellas son.
We are from Argentina. Somos de Argentina.
Somos de Argentina. In this example, we didn't use a pronoun because somos is only used with nosotros or we, so nosotros is implied automatically.
So here's a quick rundown of which verb forms you can use without a pronoun.
We'll use ser as an example, but these rules hold true for any verb.
The first person singular form of the verb, which, in the case of ser, is soy, can stand by itself without the pronoun yo. The second person singular informal form of the verb can also stand by itself without the pronoun tú. The second person singular form of ser is eres. Eres always implies the pronoun tú.
Now don't confuse the pronoun tú and its verb forms with the other second person singular pronoun, usted. Remember, usted is a formal way to say you. Usted takes the same verb form as the third person singular pronouns él and ella.
Here's a table that will remind you of the pronouns and what they mean.
Yo means I. Tú is the informal word for you. Usted is the formal word for you. Él means he. Ella means she. Nosotros and nosotras mean we. The os form is masculine, and the as form is feminine. Ustedes is the plural form of you. Ellos is the masculine form of they, and ellas is the feminine form of they.
You also use ser to describe the permanent characteristics of a person, place, or thing. For example, beauty is considered a permanent characteristic.
El perro es bonito means the dog is beautiful. Let's take a close look at the structure of this sentence.
El perro es bonito. The article el means the, and it matches the singular masculine subject, perro, which means dog. Next comes es, which is the third person singular form of the verb ser. Es matches the third person singular noun, perro. After the verb comes our adjective bonito, which means beautiful. Notice the o at the end of bonito, which indicates the adjective is masculine. Why is it masculine? Because it also has to match perro, which is masculine.
If we were talking about a girl dog, the sentence would go like this. La perra es bonita. In this case, the article la is feminine, because it with perra, which means female dog. Notice that it's the a on the end of perra that indicates that the dog is female.
The verb es is the same as in the boy-dog example, because es works for any third-person singular subject, masculine or feminine.
The adjective bonita gets an a on the end because it's modifying a feminine subject, perra.
All the parts match. In this case, they are all singular and or feminine.
Las sillas son antiguas.
Those chairs aren't going to get any younger. They will be antiques till they rot. So, this is a case which calls for the verb ser.
Here's our sentence. Las sillas son antiguas. Las is feminine and plural. The subject sillas or chairs is feminine and plural. Son is the third person plural form of ser, and antiguas, which means antiques, is feminine and plural.
Putting together a Spanish sentence is like putting together a puzzle. All the pieces have to match up, or it doesn't work.
Let's look at the conjugation of ser one more time.
Yo soy.
Tú eres.
Usted, él, and ella es.
Nosotros o nosotras somos.
Ustedes, ellos, and ellas son.
Let's run through a few more quick examples of cases that call for the to-be verb ser.
And try not to rely on the English subtitles to understand the vocabulary. If you haven't learned the vocabulary for this section, rewind and review the vocabulary now.
Soy guapo.
Hola, mami.
Hija, eres muy desordenada.
¡Somos horribles!
Bienvenidos a la panadería de Fernando.
Las galletas son gratuitas.
For our review, let's go over the conjugation of ser one more time, because it's a very important verb, and you need to learn it. By the way, the Spanish word for or is o, just the letter O. We'll use it when we conjugate ser again, so remember what it means.
Yo soy. Tú eres. Usted, él o ella es. Nosotros o nosotros somos. Ustedes, ellos o ellas son. The verb ser means to be and is generally used in situations such as where you're from that are considered permanent.
Section B, using estar.
New section, new vocab. Here it comes.
Cansado is an adjective that means tired.
If you call someone el loco, you're calling him a fool.
I'll buy the deed to the Brooklyn Bridge.
Okay. El Loco!
Pollo means chicken, and cocina means kitchen.
I am la luna, the moon. Soy la luna.
Feliz means happy, and triste means sad.
Confundida.